Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Daisy Regrowth Project. At the beginning of this pandemic, some people started to panic buy and stockpile the things that they were worried that they might not be able to get during lockdown. Stockpiling means that you buy more food than you need and keep it in your cupboards in case you do need it. And there was lots of things that the supermarkets were running out of, and they were perfectly understandable, like flour for baking, pasta, rice, long life milk, that type of thing, hand wash. Somebody said in one of our groups, pot noodles, and you can understand all of those things. But there was one thing that the world was, curious about, and that was something that the shops completely ran out of, and it made everybody smile a little bit, even though we were a bit worried. Can you remember what it was? Toilet rolls. It was strange going into the supermarket and seeing empty shelves. But when the supermarkets did get their stock back in, they rationed things like toilet rolls, and so everybody was able to buy some. And the panic was over. I'd like to talk about squirrels, because squirrels naturally stockpile. They eat acorns and seeds, tree seeds and nuts, and they stockpile things when they can get hold of them, bury them and make little stores of them, so that in the winter, when the food is more scarce, they know that they've got some food in the cupboard. And squirrels don't actually hibernate. They don't sleep over the winter months. They aren't as active. They don't do as much. And because it's cold, they tuck themselves up in their nests made of twigs and branches and things. They called them a dray. The squirrel's nest is called a dray. And they use their big bushy tail as a blanket and keep nice and warm in the winter months. And then when they're a bit hungry, they'll go and find the food that they buried earlier in the year. So let's have a look at this little squirrel finding some nuts and then burying them. Yeah, he is so beautiful. Look at him. Look at the way he's breathing. Very fast breathing. Look at his beady eyes and his little claws. Look at these little claws. They're like hands. His beautiful bushy tail. Now, can you see how many nuts he had in his mouth then? He's going around looking for nuts. Look, he's picked one up there. He's already got several in there. Picked up another one. He's got about half a dozen nuts in his mouth. Now he's going to look for a place to bury them. He leaps about faster than the camera can follow him. Oh, let's have a little dig here and bury some here, he says. He spits it out in the hole and then pats the earth back down. And then he puts a little leaf on the top and pats the leaf down, so he feels like it's really properly hidden. And he goes off to find out other places to bury nuts. So he buries them in lots and lots of places. I don't know how he remembers where he's hidden them. Yes, there are a lot of squirrels in the United Kingdom. Grey squirrels, there are nearly 3 million grey squirrels that live in our trees, in the woodlands, sometimes in our gardens, and sometimes they visit our gardens, don't they? And I think we must have some squirrels in our woodland. And because of the toilet roll crisis, I thought we would make our stockpiling squirrels out of toilet roll holders. Okay, let's go. Okay, you will need 2 empty toilet rolls, 2 toilet roll holders, some glue, some scissors, a fine liner, a pencil, a little bit of sellotape, and a piece of white paper. You don't need it this big, but you'll need a piece of paper or card, white card. Okay, let's start. The first thing we do is mark where we want to cut, and for my first toilet roll holder I'm just going to mark off about 1 centimetre, a little bit, that's for his arms, and this one I'm going to mark off about 1/3. Okay, it's about 4 centimetres, 4 to 5 centimetres, 4 centimetres, but it's 1/3 of the toilet roll. Now I'm just going to slightly squash it. I don't want to crease it, but I want to squash it, just so I can get my scissors around it, and I want to make a cut. A cut so that I can perhaps put my scissors in and then carefully cut around the toilet roll. You could always put a pencil line all the way around so that you know as a guide, but I've managed without doing a guide. Oops, just take that a little bit off. So there's 2 pieces of toilet roll. Now let's cut this one. I'm going to cut this one without, I'm just going to cut it like this. I'm not squashing the toilet roll too much, but I'm cutting the whole thing without too much of a problem there. Now I've got 4 pieces. Large, medium, small and very small. There you go, 4 pieces. So take the smallest, the very small piece of toilet roll holder and crease it, in half. Squash the ends so that there's 2 creases. And get a fine liner and just draw 3 little fingers on one end. These are going to be his arms, obviously. And then very carefully cut those fingers out. And because it's folded in half, you're cutting 2 at the same time. Now this is really fiddly, so you might have to get help. I found it quite difficult. You need some nice sharp scissors to cut your toilet rolls if possible. Now open it up and cut down the other crease. And there you have 2 arms with lovely little hands on the ends. And because I can see the black line on that one, I quite like it. I'm going to just make his fingers a little bit blacker by just doing the outline there with my fine liner. And then you can see them properly, and I quite like that. Right, put your 2 arms to one side. Okay, so now you're going to take the middle piece, the middle sized piece, and we are going to make this into a tail. Now there's a seam that goes down, a diagonal one. Can you see that? There's a little seam. Turn it around. I want you to cut it completely up that line. Okay, and then unroll it a bit. It's very curly. Try and straighten it out a little bit like that. And you may need a weight to hold it down while you make the markings. But open it up so that the curly side, it's the inside of the curly bit. I want you to mark around it off of one of the edges, one of the corners, and then get rid of those sharp bits on its side, so that you want it so that it's just a kind of a long oval shape, but don't cut off one of the ends, just round off the top end like this. When you're cutting out the bits, keep them because we need them for his little ears. But basically you have a long oval shape with a pointed end. So these pieces we'll keep for his ears, but that's the shape that you've got. And it's nice and curly. Put that to one side. And grab these pieces again. Right, so what you need to do is to grab one of them, not the thinnest piece, and then fold it over, because we're going to make an ear that's got a tab to be glued down. So what you need to do is fold it over and then make a triangle. So if I open that up, when I cut that triangle, there's going to be two triangles joined together. It looks like a little beak actually. There you go, that's one. That one's a bit too thin, I think. I'll move that onto this side. This one, I'm going to fold it over so that I can make sure that I can get the same size ear, more or less. So there you go. I'm going to get my pair and make the triangle. There we go. And then when I cut it out, I'll have the two triangles joined together like that. There, two little ears with two tabs on so that I can glue them onto the head. Okay, and put them to one side for a minute. Now grab the head, that's the smallest piece that's left, and your white paper or card. Squash the head a little bit and place it on your paper. What we're trying to do is mark the paper so that it's bigger, wider than the toilet roll, because we want about 1 centimetre each side that comes off of the toilet roll. And then we want to measure the length of it, and you want it to be shorter than the length of it. So this is the size that you want it. So it's slightly wider than it's long. And now we're going to draw his face. Use a pencil in case you have to do any rubbing out. So you're going to make a smile that's going to go right down to the bottom edge in the middle there. So there you go, a smile. Okay, it's its chin really. And then we're going to do two little cheeks that's going to go right to the very edge of the paper. Again, it's like a smile, but on its side. Okay, so kind of exactly the same shapes here, but they're going right out to the very edge of the paper because we've measured the paper. Now we want two upside down U shapes, a little line in the middle, and another upside down U shape. That's for its eyes. Okay, so that's basically the shape of its face. Under that little dash in the middle of his eyes, put a nose. And then under his nose you can do two little curves for his top lip and with some little dots in it for his kind of whiskers. And then they've got kind of funny little beavery teeth, haven't they? So let's put two teeth in like that, sticking out from the middle of his lip. I'm just going to take those cheeks round a little bit further, and then I'm going to do a big round eye. It's big and it's round. Do you remember what we saw with the squirrel? And a little highlight in the middle, two little circles for the highlights. That's we won't colour those in, we'll leave them white. Now I'm going to go around my drawing so that it really stands out. Could you do the same? Very carefully go around what you've drawn. And let's fill in the eyes. They need to be really nice and black, except for that little circle in the middle, which is his highlights, and it brings the eye to life, doesn't it? The highlights. Yeah. And draw around his nose again. Cute little nose. Top lip, whiskers, and teeth. There we go. Now we'll just give him a little pink nose, I think, and leave the rest white and black as it is, unless you want to colour it in, but we will need it to really stand out. And cut him out very carefully. Cut around his eyes and that gap in between his eyes. Carefully around his cheek and his chin. Okay, so you can put that to one side. Well, I think we will just assemble the head so that the glue can dry. I'm just putting a little bit of pink in the middle of the ears, and it's the piece that sticks up if you were to stick one flap down. And because it's quite nice if you've got a black eye outline, it really stands out. I'm just going to add a little black eye outline to the ears so that they're the same. Get the glue, and where there is a crease on the head, you want to glue on the back of that crease, the side that is away from you, and place an ear on each end. So actually the ear sticks up just along that crease, like that. Okay, and then that's done. And then I'll stick his face on, and you want to leave a gap between the ears and the eyes so that there's a bit of the brown toilet roll showing. So you just need to put a piece of glue in the middle of the toilet roll. And then place the face on the top. You don't need to stick it down all over. In fact, I think it's quite nice with the eyes. You know, there's a space between the eyes. They're not curving around. And there's his head. So put that to one side and let the glue dry. Now take the large piece of tube and your piece of paper and just mark just the length of the tube, but just under, so just under each end so that it's shorter than the tube, and draw a nice oval shape for his tummy. Make a nice big strong black outline so it shows up, and cut it out. and then stick it on with a piece of glue. It's a nice easy part. Okay, good. And now get the arms and a little bit of glue on the end of the arm and stick it around the side of the tube. Same on the other side. So the little black fingers are shown there. That's cute. Okay, so we need to sort out his tail, and we're going to make a little slit at the back so that the pointed end of the tail can slot into it. Or if you don't want to do that, you can fold the pointed end and glue that to the inside of the tube at the bottom. But I want the tail to be seen around the side like this. So I'm going to just make a little cut up the back. Like that. Insert the pointed end of the tail like that. And then I think that's it. Tail curls round. I think that's quite nice. And then his head will be sellotaped to the top like that. I'll stockpiling the squirrel. Now take your sellotape and just a little tiny bit for the back of his head so it doesn't wobble off, although it sits quite nicely inside. And maybe a little piece of sellotape for his tail so that doesn't wobble around too much. Make sure you've got it in the position that you want it in. And then you can use a little tiny bit of sellotape to keep it in place for a photo shoot, which is what we'll be doing next. Get a toilet roll and pop him on the top and take a photograph from a few angles. This angle is quite nice where you're looking down on it. Let's just get his ears in. So take perhaps a picture like that. And then I took him outside as well and took a couple of photographs from a couple of sides in the garden, which was quite nice. But you don't have to do that. So send me a couple of shots of your stockpiling squirrel from a couple of angles so that I can use it in a couple of situations, and then send it to the normal address shown. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.